Hello. So, something of a controversy has arisen at a National Trust property. Just to quickly explain, if you're not from the UK, the National Trust is a well established society organisation to preserve old buildings, to preserve historic buildings. It's a conservation society, and this is a registered charity. Now, they have a property in Norfolk by the name of Felbrigg Hall, and apparently to celebrate 50 years since the decriminalisation of homosexuality in Britain. There's been a lot of things going on this year. They have a scheme or an event called Prejudice and Pride, a campaign. Now, as part of this, they have forced their volunteers to wear badges and lanyards. They've tried to gloss over that, but that really is what it is when you look at this. I'm going to read this out from the BBC. Um, the National Trust has reversed the decision to make some volunteers work away from the public after they refused to wear sexual equality symbols. Staff and volunteers at Felbrigg Hall, a stately home in Norfolk, were asked to wear badges and lanyards in support of an LGBTQ campaign. But 30 of the 350 volunteers were offered duties away from the public after choosing not to wear them. Well, that's just a polite way to say they were ordered to work away from the public. They were not offered, they were ordered. So I think it's just plain dishonest to word it that way. In a statement, the Trust said it would now be an optional decision. A spokesman also confirmed all volunteers could resume their public facing roles and it was business as usual. Um, the way I see it is damn right it should be. Incidentally, another thing that is controversial is as part of the campaign, the conservation charity is holding an exhibition at the estate, including a film which reveals Felbrigg's last lord, Robert Wyndham Ketten Kremer, who was gay, which was known by close friends. Now, apparently, Lord Ketten Kremer had this in the closet. It wasn't something he was open about. Um, And in an article in the Telegraph, the Lord's godchildren criticised the move, saying it was unfair of the organisation to out someone who chose to keep his sexuality secret, regardless of why he chose to do so, because it was a time when it was illegal. Regardless, that was his decision. Um, the National Trust had initially said it was committed to promoting equality and inclusion, and in a letter to Saturday's Telegraph, its Director General, Dame Helen Ghosh, said anyone who did not agree with the campaign was free to step back from the volunteer role or take a different role for the duration. That's a patronising euphemism for we basically demanded these volunteers do that. That she's implying that it was a choice. It wasn't a choice. However, the organisation later released a statement saying it was now making it clear to volunteers that the wearing of the badge is optional and a personal decision. Um, and that's more or less the height of the article. I the consensus on this, looking at comments online, is that it was an utterly absurd decision to begin with. Now there are some people who are backing it, and they're trying to claim that people who didn't wear it therefore must be homophobic. And a few people are citing that some of the volunteers apparently said they were uncomfortable with the film. Well, whether they said that or not, the bigger issue here is something that is rather sinister, and that is forcing people to wear a socio political symbol. Now, this is very different from applying for a job where you know there is a dress code. That's a different matter. This is something that is just a scheme that has come about recently. These volunteers had no say over it. And I strongly resent this idea that if you don't wear a pride symbol, then you automatically hate gay people. That's a bit like saying if you don't wear a poppy, if you live in the UK, the poppy is a symbol of Remembrance Sunday. It's something a lot of Britons wear to remember our war dead. Now, if people don't wear the poppy, does that mean that they automatically disrespect the sacrifice of soldiers? I don't think so. And I personally I wear the poppy, but I don't think it should be forced. Well, it's the same principle here. Just because someone is not wearing the rainbow flag doesn't mean that they hate gay people. Are we really getting into a society where people are going to be bullied into accepting whatever is popular in the day? I mean, that's what's truly intolerant. And quite frankly, there is a segment of the LGBT community who are deeply intolerant. They love to play the victim, but they're the ones who show intolerance to anyone who doesn't exactly do as they say. And frankly, a lot of people, I think, are getting sick of it. Um, the unfortunate side effect of this is that genuine homophobes, people who really do hate gay people and give them a hard time and so on, will use things like this as a sort of excuse for their bigotry. They'll say, oh, well, look, it's part of the gay agenda and so on. The problem is, there is a segment of the gay community that is really forcefully, aggressively pushing this. And if you don't agree with them, well, then you're a raging homophobe. They don't want equality, they want special treatment. And it's bullshit. So I think it's good that they've reversed the decision, but I think it's unfortunate and striking that that decision came about in the first place. The volunteers didn't have a choice. That is so patronising to say they were given the option of working away from the public. That's a threat. What would they have done if they didn't want to do that? You know, these national trust properties, a lot of the roles are public roles, historical reenactments and so on. Then maybe that is something that they've been doing for years. Maybe it's something they're really comfortable in and they enjoy. And they're suddenly being told, oh, you have to go and do desk duty because you don't want to wear this symbol. I think it's utterly absurd. Um, but to me, it's just a symbol of a wider direction that society is taking in Western countries that is really, really aggressively virtue signaling. In the end of the day, whatever you think of the pride symbol, it is a socio-political symbol. It is. And I understand it's about gay rights. I understand its advocates would say that it's about civil rights. I totally respect that. And I'm not personally opposed to the symbol, but I am opposed to the symbol being forced. I think that is utter nonsense. Um, the pride flag was flying in the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland's office in Belfast, James Brockenshire. Now, again, if he had not been flying that, does that mean he's a homophobe? No. So I do have serious concerns about what I believe is a sinister direction that this is taking. And my message to those in the LGBT community who want to push this is have a look in the mirror because you're the ones who are being intolerant. And this, we have to be very clear here, this is not universally the gay LGBT community thinking this way. I've come across people who identify as gay in the comments saying that they would hope that people are tolerant, but they don't think it should be imposed. Um, so we shouldn't assume that it's every single gay person who supports this sort of move. They don't. I think it's wrong, and I think there's no, I'm just getting sick and tired of when people don't get their own way, and it comes down to the previous point I was making in the previous video. There are some people who will always play the victim. They don't get their own way. Oh, it must be homophobia. So if someone isn't wearing a pride flag, they think they can smear that person as a hateful homophobe. It's bullshit. What if a straight person was to force them to wear some sort of straight symbol, whatever that would be? It would be deemed as unacceptable, and rightly so. So let me know your thoughts. I think this is totally rubbish. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube tries censoring this video. I'm basically, I may as well say it now, I'm monetized, right? And I've noticed in some of my more controversial videos, they have been putting me on hold to be monetized. And I think the reason for that is because I'm politically incorrect. I say things as they need to be said. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube, or maybe not YouTube, but the partners try this. It's very unfortunate. Um, but that is the direction the modern world is taking, at least the Western world. So, okay, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts.